I guess you could say. Stories, The Path of Destinies. I picked up this game on a discount not too long ago. Believe it or not, I got this thing for 74 cents. Now you think that'd be bad because the game's not doing well, but it was a discount. It's actually $15, and honestly it's well worth the $15 in my book. Anyways, I'm gonna just hop in it. I've already done a lot in the game. I wanted to get a feel for it before I decided to record. Basically what happens is you find this book, and each time you read through it, you go down a different path, you get a different ending, and then each time you die, you come back to the beginning. You'll see what I mean soon enough.
The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced. Bernardo knew that using it could go wrong, but he wished a dangerous artifact. It could corrupt its user into a bloodthirsty monster. Maybe he could find a way to use it, to take its power without surrendering to its wickedness. And also, his old friend Lupino needed rescuing. Of course, Bernardo had a pretty strong suspicion that Lupino had betrayed the rebellion, and he had a gut feeling that he needed to use that to his advantage.
Okay, so this is how it works. When you start up the story, it brings you to a row of choices. These choices, and depending on these choices, it'll give you a different ending almost every time. Actually, every time as far as I've seen. I've played through this quite a bit, and as far as I know, every single time I've gotten it, I've gotten a different ending. So, let's see, I'm gonna start with something I haven't seen. You know, let's start with something I have seen and work our way forward.
Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor had buried its pieces deep. And then, this Emperor's horrific sacrifices had brought it back to the surface. Bernardo wasn't exactly sure how to use the legendary weapon. But surely, there must be some way to do it without provoking another catastrophe. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the Earth? It was more than Bernardo could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it.
Also, whenever he talks, you're going to see a little symbol on the right where the letters are. That means a truth has been revealed. The way the game works is you play through, you learn different truths, and as you come back, you make different choices. You're slowly getting better and better with it until finally you get the good ending. And there's a lot of bad endings in this game.
On the island, Bernardo couldn't help feeling a bit curious. Was Lupino still waiting to be rescued? No. He was probably drinking champagne with the ravens. Did ravens drink champagne? Did rabbits? Bernardo felt oddly thirsty, come to think of it. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Bernardo never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
I'm also going to say right now, I'm probably going to be either cut off or not talking a lot because this game has a lot of dialogue and it tends to interrupt quite a bit. And I guess I should explain a few things. Since I've played the game, I've gotten a few upgrades to my character. Like, for example, I shouldn't have all 4 swords, but I do. We got the hero sword, we got the flame sword, the ice sword, the void sword. Each one has a different ability, which is pretty helpful. Each one runs on energy. And you'll notice this blue glow around my character. That's the... basically, whenever I kill something, it gives me more energy to use for my swords. I'm not supposed to have that either, obviously, but... either way, it works. Oh, and the little thing floating with me, that is the completed Sky Ripper. I know I just started a mission where I've got to build the Sky Ripper, but there you go.
Hey, the people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the Lost Gods, thousands of thousands had died. But Renato had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one.
I'm gonna say I might as well explain most of the lore since you're not going to get it at first. But so long story short, this world has an emperor. And this emperor has been conducting a lot of almost, I guess you could say, satanic rituals to get back the Lost Gods. The Lost Gods had been here before the animal creature characters that you see here. They ruled before this, and then the emperor before this one, the Transcendent Emperor, banished them all before killing himself. And then now we've got this emperor who will do anything to bring him, because he knows that they can make him immortal to pay. Man, I get skill points so few and far in between. I suppose I should show off a few of the abilities. Okay. These doors correspond to your different swords. There's going to be bonus doors that you can only get through building all 4 swords, which I have, so therefore I'll be able to show you almost every other pathway. Like this will only open with the hero sword, the green one. And for example, this one down here will only open to Winterthorn, the ice, water, so I don't know what it is. I just know it's called Winterthorn. My personal favorite's honestly got to be the hero sword, because it'll let you regenerate health as you fight, which is very helpful. Because I'm not gonna lie, when you make a mistake during a fight, you pay for it dearly in this game. Not bad. It's very useful. It'll actually blow up your enemies. Unfortunately, this is at random, so you can't exactly pick and choose who you want to die. And even then, the frickin', you know, the combat itself is so hectic that it doesn't even matter.
His mother had never let him wave his sword around at home. He guessed he was still compensating for that.
Yeah, I'll be breaking a lot of objects even though I don't really need to. I've got all the swords upgraded and made, so there's not really a reason for me to break things, but I will break it just to show you that you can get items out of it, health, energy. You used to be able to get ore out of chests and items, but considering that I don't need it anymore, the game stopped giving it to me. Which I guess is reasonable. There's not really much point to keep collecting stuff if you don't exactly need it. So I'll commend the developers for that. I'll let you guys pause and read if you want to. I imagine this series is probably going to get pretty old pretty fast.
Renato had always been attracted to the women with the biggest chests. No, that's not what I meant. To rob, I mean.
Sure, Renato, sure. I also love the humor in this game. The humor's pretty spot on, I ain't gonna lie. Alright. Grab this, even though I don't need it. It's actually very helpful. Now the bonus chest that no longer needed, now that I don't have to worry about ore, it just gives me a whole bunch of health and energy, which is extremely helpful should I make a mistake. And I will eventually. I know I will, I always do. Oh lord. There we go. Thought I got caught for a second. I don't know why, but splitting those things is so satisfying. Maybe it's because I got zapped by him one too many times. Yeah, it'll give you a combat report every time you enter and exit a fight. Depending on how good you do, that's the amount of XP you get. I try to get... Oh, you only get a perfect if you remain unscathed. And I do tend to get hit a lot just for being stupid. But that's just me. I know there are probably better people at this than I am. One more time. There we go. Ah, hell. I did not know I was going to do that. Okay, that works. At least they don't tax you. The puzzles in this game are very straightforward, which I enjoy, because I don't want to have to spend 10 minutes trying to figure out a puzzle and you guys just watching me sitting here thinking.
To just stand on the device and let it do all the killing.
Ah, god dang it. Forgot to tell everybody about the explosive dudes. Certain ravens, for some reason, I don't know what they did. They probably swallowed TNT for all I know. What I do know is that they're very effing annoying. Because if you hit them once, they get triggered to explode. If you hit them twice, they blow up in your face.
Not trusting Zenobia's feelings for him. But how could he have known? After all these years of silence.
Oh yeah, that was a truth that I had previously revealed. Zenobia is sort of Renardo's love interest in the game. And by the way, I am Renardo, this fox you see here. Zenobia is not that. You can turn Zenobia. There's also multiple endings where you kill Zenobia. Pretty much all of them. And then there's Lapino, your old friend. You'll learn about him probably in the next video.
There it was. Skyripper's armature. The stuff that dreams are made of. Engineers' dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Skyripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him.
And this is how it works. You get a choice of 3, and then as you keep on going, you get a choice between 2 different paths. Well, I'm going to go get the core. If you guys want to see certain paths, go ahead and tell me down in the comments.
It was a no-brainer. He'd sacrificed his old friend Lapino to get the armature. And the armature was useless by itself, only a series of coils and wheels. War demanded sacrifices, and he would make more before the end. He would have to choose the greatest good, no matter how much it cost him. Zenobia. Well, he would see her sooner or later, across a battlefield or a sword's point before all this was over. He was sure of that. The power was in the core. Obviously, he had to get the core.
You've already seen the completed core. It's what's been floating beside me and blowing up ravens while I fight. It's actually a very useful little piece of machinery. I like it a lot, mainly because it keeps me from dying a lot of the times. And the reasons I'm using, the reason I'm not starting a new game for you guys is because I don't want to have to show me going looting and everything.
Before he was even out of sight of the Farfarer. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? It was the sort of path he'd always avoided. The path of responsibility, of seriousness. Had he grown up? He didn't feel grown up. He'd made this decision from his gut, like he always did. Somehow, he'd impulsively decided to stop being impulsive. Did that make any sense?
Yeah, I don't want to show you. I don't want to have to show you guys just me looting around for ore to build the swords again.
Travel at night, so long as there are ravens to set on fire.
It's very tedious, I ain't gonna lie. So I'm not gonna plague you guys with that. I can get to a workbench, like right here, and I can show off the actual swords up close. Oh, and gems. I forgot to tell about gems. They kind of, you get a choice of 3 and they power up your abilities depending on what you have. Green's got attack speed, yellow's got critical chance, physical resistance, elemental resistance, which makes no sense. Shield breaker, treasure hunter, and energy on kill. I've got a pretty solid setup here with the shield breaker, the attack speed, and the physical resistance. It's all combat. Because honestly, you don't need treasure hunter very much. By the time you get a level 3 treasure hunter gem, which is probably the only time that's actually going to be useful, you don't need it. So there's not much point in me changing my setup. Then we got the swords, Firestorm. This is, yeah, on the circle. You'll see the unupgraded version, I think. No, never mind. Anyways, this is the first sword you get in the game. The hero sword. Its power is to recover health over time, but it costs energy. This one sets people on fire, obviously, but it costs energy. This one freezes people, causes energy. And this one increases your movement and attack speed, which is very handy in certain situations. Honestly, I'd say these two right here are the best. Just for the fact that they actually help in combat. Setting guys on fire is nice, but that doesn't do a lot of damage. And freezing guys, sure, it'll get them out of the way, but it won't kill them. I'll show off all the abilities eventually, but I'm just going to get through this quick story arc real quick and see what you guys think. And maybe do another video later. Yeah, these altars, they allow you to spend your skill points. You saw me use one earlier. It's actually, a lot of these skills are pretty useful. Like this one, dash. I'll use it a lot just to get around, but it'll actually help in combat because it'll let me go through enemies and cause damage. Yeah, you always got to be wary because you're gonna get, you know, a boot down your throat if you're not careful. I've been there, done that, where honestly you let one hit you and then they all come at you at once and you're not even expecting it. It's freaking horrible.
Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. You almost never saw wild gogglers together like this. The toads had to train them not to peck each other to death.
This is how you be retarded, folks.
That meant ravens were up ahead.
And you know what? There's probably a fight here in a second. I have no health. Hold on.
Crystalline growths. Had those been here before? He no longer heard birds except for the feverish cawing of the ravens when they attacked. He couldn't smell the small animals of the forest. The mice and rabbits. Where had they gone? And he was getting hungry too. This was an unhealthy place to be. puzzles was, once you solved one, you knew how to solve it again. Puzzles had no, what was the word? Replayability? Renato wondered if you could design a puzzle that would be different every time you played with it. Wouldn't that be fun?
Yeah, sure, Renardo. Like Sudoku? Freaking hate that game. I have a personal grudge against Sudoku. I can never figure it out, and I don't think I ever will. Call me retarded if you want to, I just hate the frickin' game.
This is the craziest weapon you've ever used. Was not.
Alright, that went pretty well, actually. Okay. Honestly expected to screw up about 3 times there. And we have the core.
The 20-sided core made him feel physically sick. Once he had sneaked into a temple of the dark arts and he hadn't liked what he smelt and saw there, this felt like that. As quick as he could, he wrangled the icosahedron into the armature. The wheels began to spin, then glow. The sick feeling quickly spun away. Now he only felt sad. He had lost good friends for this war apparatus. Maybe Lapino wasn't such a good friend. Yeah, that made him feel better. He carried his prize back to the Farfarer. Now, he had to make his next move. There was a key Imperial outpost on the Nexus. If this really was some sort of super weapon, he could use it to wreak havoc on the enemy. And if it wasn't, well, better to know that before the final battle. But maybe he should show it to some scientists first. There was an observatory on the Nexus. Maybe he should go there before he fired it.
You guys can see the exclamation point on this choice. That's because I haven't seen this choice yet. I'm going to go ahead with this. This one, I'll tell you guys now, this one does not end well. I'll show you guys this one later, probably. There's a lot of endings that go along with this game. I'll probably show off some of the major ones and some of the ones that I haven't seen. Possibly all of them if I ever get around to it. But until then, let's continue the story.
Renato had never been much of a student. At Swordfu School, he'd never read the books, just looked at the pictures. I'm Zenobia. But weapons he understood. His gut told him that the Sky Ripper would work great. He would use it to take out the Imperial outpost. And what's the worst that could happen? The thing wouldn't work, and then he'd take it to the scientists, right? Renato actually could think of a few things that were worse. But he would make sure they didn't happen this time. Right? Exactly.
Yeah, you guys saw the little red symbol on the bottom right. That was a truth that had already been revealed. I'll show that off to you once we finish this story path. But truths are things that you normally see that would affect your choices. Normally, if you hadn't found that out before, you would have a different way of thinking about it.
As he set out down the path, Renato wondered why the parts of the Sky River had only surfaced now, thousands of years after the Transcendent Emperor had discarded it. This Emperor, Isengrim III, had performed terrible, bloodthirsty rituals to invoke the lost gods. Perhaps that was bringing up lost artifacts. How perfect, then, that the Sky Ripper would reappear to be his destruction. And hopefully this time, just his destruction.
Yeah, the last story arc I tested with the full Sky Ripper, I accidentally tore a hole in space-time and killed everything. So it didn't work out well at all. Now, I will show off a door every once in a while just to show off the bonus little levels that they put in. I have to say, I love this game a lot, despite the extremely unforgiving combat system. There's so much about it that I love. I actually love the combat system despite how difficult it is. I actually love the art style. I love the story. A lot of this stuff is this game is just a really good game, and I would recommend it if you're into this kind of top-down slasher.
Say, how are you guys fixed for life insurance?
There we go. Perfect score. Let's do this. Yeah, it's just gonna give me stuff I don't need. But yeah, there's little teleporter pads here. Always handy.
He was tired of slaughtering ravens. Maybe it was time to test out the new weapon. He turned a knob on the Sky Ripper. It made strange mechanical noises. The wheels spun faster. It began to hum.
The Sky Ripper was following his every step. At least it acknowledged him as the master. But there was no trigger. How was he supposed to fire it? Fire, he said. Nothing happened. Well, maybe it just needed to warm up. After all, it hadn't been fired in thousands of years.
Yeah, I believe this is where we first learned that the Sky Ripper actually helps us in combat. The combat in the game is honestly really fluid.
It was making a whining noise now, and its wheels were spinning so fast he could no longer see them. Bernardo had a thought. To glow. Boom! The outpost burst into flame. Ravens flapped out screaming, wings on fire. The base was his. The far speaker toad came hopping out. Bernardo! It croaked, sounding like a toad version of Zenobia.
Don't use the Sky Ripper. It will destroy the world.
Yeah, sure it will, cracked Renato. Pull the other one.
If you don't trust me, go see Calaveras.
That sounded sensible. Why did she always have to sound sensible all the time? Oh, it was infuriating.
Of course she would say that. He was supposed to hurry and bring the Sky Ripper to the council so the rebels could actually win the war. But what if she was right?
Damn it.
Okay, so these are two choices I have not seen, so I can go with either one here. I hope you guys don't hate me for whatever I choose. Let's see, let me read the descriptions here real quick. What if she wasn't Calaveras was the final authority in the legendary house? Okay. Okay. I have a feeling I'm going to tear a hole and I'm going to make another black hole if I go to this one, so I'm going to try this guy.
Zenobia was so frustrating. If she couldn't get you with magic, she'd get you with reason and caution and sensible arguments. Of course, Calaveras, he might not know the latest scientific theories with evidence and all, but Renato preferred the knowledge in the old books anyway. What they said felt true. And that's what's important. You should be careful, though. She'd probably guess he'd come here. That meant she'd probably set an ambush for him.
Now, I've got no idea what this story arc's going to take me. I have no idea when it's going to end either. Some are short, some are long, some are in between short and long. I don't really know how to measure that, but it works. It's honestly a really fun game. The combat system extremely fluid, extremely. I mean, it gives you a sense of vulnerability and power at the same time, especially when you've got the Sky Ripper and everything with you.
Zenobia's ambush at any moment. God, after all these years, she still drove him crazy. Oh, Unless they were part of the ambush, the obvious reasons he was meant to see to take his mind off the ones he wouldn't see. There did seem to be a lot of ravens around here.
There we go. Managed to avoid the exploding ones this time. There are, of course, some things that I dislike about the game. I, for one, while I love the fact that they put it in the perspective of kind of an animal-esque world, it also makes me think of what this would have looked like with a human counterpart.
Oh, what does the fox say? Asked Frederick. Another one called back, "Oh, I'm dying!" And they both laughed hysterically.
What does the fox say? God, I was hoping to forget that song. Oh boy. Here's the memes that'll never die. Ah, douchebag. There we go. By the way, those glowy dudes that you see occasionally, those are
Zenobia's
warlocks.
ambush never materialized. Could she be sincere? Calaveras was a great scholar. Renato doubted even Zenobia could convince him to say something he didn't believe. And if he was working for the Empire, he'd never have told Renato about the Skyrip in the first place. He would listen to the wise old toad, but that didn't mean he had to agree.
Alright. But yeah, those, the blue and orange dudes that you'll occasionally see are warlocks. The orange ones will cast this flame ring thing on the ground that you gotta avoid. And then the blue ones will buff up your other enemies, so you've got to kill them fast. It's a lot of strategy for such a simple game. But that's one of the reasons why I love it, is because it's not as simple as you would honestly think it is. And freaking these combos, you build up a multiplier so fast, it's insane. Like right there, I just got a 41 as a max combo. My highest, I think, so far has been 73. And that's only because there were so many enemies at the time. I actually almost died. But I love the fact that it counts that way, and it makes it so easy to get that high up.
To his alarm, Renato realized that the rebels had no way of knowing he had a powerful new weapon. He might set off on their attack of the fleet before he could bring the Skyripper to the fight. He had to hurry, while there were still rebels to save.
Yeah, like I said before, the Emperor was practicing black magic, and then you got the rebellion, which your character is part of.
With enough leverage, you could go anywhere.
And that's one of the reasons why we have this world-ending super weapon, is because we're trying to defeat the Emperor, but he's slowly snuffing us out. So they needed a game changer, which is what was mentioned in the beginning. Otherwise, the rebellion would fail, the Emperor would win, and the world would go into darkness. Yada yada yada, world-ending stuff.
Calaveras examined the Skyripper eagerly. What? How often does a new relic surface? He brushed off Zenobia's warning. Oh, what do sorceresses do about physics? However, he did know a few ways to make the weapon even more precise and more powerful, and quickly went off to tinker. Soon the Skyripper no longer whined, but thrummed like a hummingbird taking off. It was ready for war.
And so, Renato thanked Calaveras and took the legendary weapon to the final battle. But where were the other rebel ships? Had something happened?
He could defeat the Imperial fleet with a Skyripper, but He couldn't govern. He was not cut out to be emperor, and he'd no desire to be one.
Yeah, I've never seen the end of this story arc, so I'm very curious to see what the developers cooked up for this. The fact that there are so many different choices and so many different endings for those choices is kind of insane. I mean, I think the last time I counted, I think there were 26, 7 different endings that you can get in the entire game, including the true ending.
There were a few rebel ships here and there, but there was no organization to the battle. Where was the Council flagship? Something had gone terribly wrong.
But he had the Sky Ripper, and the Ravens had nowhere they could hide.
Alright. Time to end this off with a bang. I just hope it's not a bang that causes a black hole to swallow existence. Like last time.
Port led right into the middle of the fleet. It was a glaring weakness in the defense.
Is it still... Oh, the Sky Ripper got it. I'll take that. Oh man, okay. I'm going to warn everybody else right now. The game does occasionally glitch. I don't know how or why. I honestly think I trigger it sometimes on accident. It's annoying, but it happens. Like right there, it took a little bit for that ship to actually load in. And there will occasionally be different points where I've got to guess where I'm going because the ground is transparent. And by transparent, I mean there's no ground at all. So your character's just kind of walking on thin air. You hope you don't fall. There we go. It does take a while to get used to this combat system, but I do like it. It's very straightforward and very smooth.
The Council speaker was on the deck, bleeding. Why was she even here? They found our base, she croaked. The Council, all dead. We must surrender. No, we could still win this, said Renato. I have the Sky Ripper. He would be a real hero and save the day, even when all appeared to be lost. You're a good boy, said the speaker. And then she died.
Yeah, that's the, she was the leader of the rebellion right there. It's a bit sad, but it's what happens. That's how this story goes. There's different stories where you save her, there's different stories where you keep the council together. There's stories where you win, stories where you lose. Most of the time you lose. I ain't even gonna lie about that. It honestly gets annoying to some points.
Me and a dead, silent type.
Oh, you're very punny. Very punny. Okay. I think it's time to actually use some of the energy attacks in this. I'm gonna start with Winterthorn, freeze a few enemies. It does freeze them, which is very helpful. I know I said it was unhelpful, but it's what I meant by that was it's unhelpful because, well, for one, it doesn't keep your combo, and honestly, I feel like it's kind of cheating. It's a little overpowered, honestly. Especially since it uses so little energy. This should be it. There we go. Why, hello, Emperor.
He fired the Sky Ripper. With a tremendous whoosh, the Emperor's flagship went up in flames. And for good measure, he played the beam around it, setting all the other nearby Imperial ships on fire too. And he watched them burn.
See? He could use the Sky Ripper safely.
The few remaining rebels gave a cheer. And then they stopped cheering. There was a hole in the air.
God dang
A
it.
blackness, like a tear in a parchment. Wind was blowing into it, widening it. It grew larger. Crates were falling off ship decks, upwards into the hole. And the world itself seemed bent, like the reflection on a curved mirror as it poured into the ravenous hole. He guessed that somewhere behind that ever-widening hole were gods that had long been exiled. But it didn't really matter. Time was done for here, and soon it was.
God dang it. I knew it was gonna frickin' happen. Well, yeah, here we go. These are all the stories. 24 stories. 24 different stories. Then, as you can see, there's the true ending on the right there. Then the four little arrows leading up to it are all four truths that you're supposed to find before you can actually unlock the true ending. I unlocked all the truths. I'm going to show you most of the truths. I'll probably just show you them now. You got the truth behind the Sky Ripper. The Sky Ripper core is unstable, which is what causes that black hole almost every time you use it. This truth, the Iblis Stone, I'll show you that probably next video. It corrupts anybody who uses it. That honestly leads to a few sad endings, I'm not gonna lie. Zenobia still has feelings for Reynardo. If you guys are paying attention, you notice that Reynardo and Zenobia had been friends as children. And let's see. Lapino is a traitor. Lapino is your little rabbit friend. I'll probably show you guys Lapino next video as well. But until then, I'll see you guys next time. Hope you enjoyed the show. Goodbye.